good to look at these various potential reasons why it slowed down growth to see if you need to make some changes so that the plant is okay. So
nothing screams more the season to me than the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, an absurdist cartoon from the mind of Maxwell Adams, starring a boy, a girl, and the grim frickin' Reaper, who is now stuck under their command. That's one game of Limbo he'll surely never forget. One thing I'll never forget is Fred Burger, and that this is the show that gave us this beautiful creation. He just wanted some nachos. Oh yeah, and some frozen yogurt. But today, I not only wanted to show my love for this show, but 'tis the spirit of the season, discuss the Halloween special, Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween. This episode is pretty rad overall, and any excuse I have to discuss Halloween-related anything within cartoons and TV shows, you bet your sweet bippy I will. I will say, rewatching this Halloween special for the first time in quite a while reminded me of how much this show got away with in the early 2000s, as well as why I think it has left such an impact as a Halloween special in a show that already got away with so much in it. The episode starts out with Billy watching what seems like a spoof of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it turns out to just be a commercial, which is more terrifying. Mandy and Grim show up at the door as Hamlet holding the skull, while Billy grabs Grim's scythe to be the Grim Reaper for Halloween. Before they head out to trick-or-treat, they stop by Irwin's, who has a running costume-changing gag throughout the episode. First being Sleeping Beauty, all is an attempt to woo over Mandy. She tells him to change into something scary, and they just ditch him, right after promising that they'd wait. We also see how obsessed he is with Mandy, and honestly, he rivals Helga's obsession of Arnold. Without Irwin, they all start their trick-or-treat adventures, first stopping at a house of an old lady who doesn't want to give out her candy to any kid. So I guess that means the mean lady gets herself a trick. Mandy super glues her welcome mat and tricks her to come back outside, making her get stuck on the mat and then spraying her with a fire hydrant. So Mandy leads everyone into her house and they literally just rob her of all her miscellaneous holiday candy. Like there was Valentine's Day themed candy and Christmas themed candy. Either she just hoards the candy or got a super great deal on it all after the holidays. Sorry, that's just the smart shopper in me thinking, trust me, buy your Halloween candy on discount after Halloween. While enjoying their stolen candy, Billy wants to know why people can be tricked on Halloween. So Grim tells the tale of a guy named Jack, who liked to play tricks on everyone in town, usually going a bit too overboard with it, promptly pissing off everyone in the town who were now sick of his antics. One night, the town comes together to send the queen a gift in the name of Jack that turns out to be a prank on her to frame him. So the queen just kills Jack. I'm not even joking. We see blood spilt and everything. This isn't an Adult Swim show, Cartoon Network. No wonder my generation has so many sleepless nights. Not the taxes or the debts or any of that. It's because of you, Billy and Mandy, and by extension, I raise you Invader Zim. I'll never forget the organ harvesting.
3D! How thrilling.
So much for threesies.
Anyway, Grim, while doing his job as the Grim Reaper, visits Jack to come take him away, as we see an axe stuck in his back. Yeah, again, this dude is dead, but Jack gets the upper hand by using his trickster ways to take the scythe from Grim, now making a deal between them for Grim to get his scythe back and for Jack to have eternal life. But Grim doesn't always cowtail to everyone, except to Billy and Mandy. He's essentially their bitch. So Grim cuts off Jack's head, which leads his eternal life-filled headless body to place a pumpkin upon it, thus becoming an alive dead dude with a pumpkin on his head. Fine, Jack-o'-lantern. Which, did he get his name after putting on the pumpkin, or was his name Jack-o'-lantern beforehand? Or should I say, beforehead?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, throughout the years, he has been trapped within Ennsville as time and technology grows around his home trapped in time, only ever coming out during Halloween to pull tricks on unsuspecting townsfolk. Irwin shows back up as a turtle, well, not just any turtle, a female Indonesian redback sea turtle. With Mandy still displeased, she sends him back to change once more, and Billy and Mandy split up for trick-or-treating after that. Of course, though, Billy ends up at the exact house of Jack, and right off the bat, we see how annoyed Jack is with Billy's antics. Also, no stranger here to cartoons we've spoken on before, but Jack is voiced by Wayne Knight, which I must say fits really well for the character design of Jack. I just personally think he looks really cool, and I truly dig the character. Once Jack takes note of the scythe being the real scythe of the Grim Reaper, he tricks Billy into taking the scythe for himself, as he sees an opportunity not only for tricks, but for revenge on the entity that trapped him in this life. Billy just sees him as a friend to go trick-or-treating with at first and just tags along. But Jack first uses the powers of the scythe to summon friends from the afterlife back to the mortal realm.
Chaos will reign!
chaos.
These spirits inhabit the pumpkins within the pumpkin patch, creating an army of ghost pumpkins, or demon pumpkins, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know, it's your life. Quickly, the city gets taken over by pumpkins. Jack reigns supreme with Billy on his side, who's just excited to have Halloween never end. Billy, never change. Jack wants more than this, though. He wants to take the fight to Grim and get revenge upon him. Back over with Mandy and Grim, Irwin shows up again as a banana, just continuing his ripoffs of Hey Arnold. Not cool, my dude. But swiftly, Jack and Billy show up as Jack captures Grim and takes him away. Now holding him hostage, we hear him spilling his grievances with Grim, all while spinning the scythe way too close to Billy's head. But we do know that Grim's head can come off no problem, but the power his scythe holds can detach it permanently, upping the true threat of the power Jack now holds. Billy walks off as he loses interest of the whole situation and then shortly realizes that Grim is actually in real danger and runs out for help. At the same time, Mandy begins making her way to where Grim was taken. Irwin is Little Bo Peep for a second, still not impressing Mandy. And then Billy runs into Mandy and explains what is going on, causing Mandy to go full commando mode with her own bag of tricks to fight back against Jack. Billy, being used as a distraction, distracts Jack with his posterior, while Mandy lays a bunch of trap pranks for Jack. But Jack is too smart to fall for that so easily, and he foils Mandy's plans. Until a knight in shining armor shows up, scaring Jack, until it's revealed to be Irwin, once again in a new costume, but now stumbling and falling into every laid trap that Mandy had put. All the pumpkin spirits and Jack burst out into laughter so hard that the pumpkins begin exploding due to dying of laughter as they now head back to the afterlife. Mandy sees an opportunity to reclaim the scythe, going sicko mode on some remaining pumpkins and thus returning the scythe to Grim, who sets free Jack into the afterlife, ending his eternal life. But that's not how we end the episode. Oh no. We actually then pan down to the underworld,
Censors.
as Jack is still pulling tricks on the ghouls and monsters working and living down there, and they clearly aren't having any of that either.
That's why I left him.
Now, I won't claim this being the darkest thing I've ever seen in a cartoon. I'm sure I can come up with a laundry list of more far worse than this. But even for Billy and Mandy's sake, not only seeing blood, death, the fiery inferno down below, all in a show I watched as a kid, did leave a long enough impact on me all these years later. Sure, it's within the season and spirit of Halloween to get darker and creepier and all that, but can that be done today on daytime kids television? That all being said, I love this episode. I mentioned how cool Jack was as a character, but when it comes to Halloween specials and cartoons, this one is high on my list for how it used the holiday as a catalyst to tell a fun tale of revenge, with fun and interesting visuals while still keeping the zany, out there humor the show was known for. Blending comedy and horror can be hit or miss depending on how it's used and executed, and here is a perfect example of telling a story that may not seem the most original, but using the playground of characters in their own unique way to tell the story. I feel too many Halloween specials try to just be spooky or use the holiday in a generic way to have a holiday-themed episode. Here, thankfully, Billy and Mandy use the way the world in their show works to the storytelling's advantage, culminating in why I think this is a top-tier Halloween special. It also fills up the full 22-minute runtime rather than it usually having two 11-minute segments, which with how fast-paced the episodes usually are, gave it that time to breathe to not feel rushed going up against an allotted amount of time. If you've never seen this Halloween special, I highly recommend checking it out. I have personally re-added this special to my yearly October must-watch list, and I am kicking myself for not having it on there for so long. Now, you remember back when all these cartoons had web-based video games on their respective network sites? I mean, maybe they still do today, but I don't have time to find out. Listen, either you get content or I play video games by myself. Your choice. But like I was saying, there were two Cartoon Network video games based off this Halloween special. Infernal Candy, wherein which you just trick or treat and scare adults who don't give you candy. Then there is Harem Scarum, a 2D platformer where you traverse several levels to face down Jack-o'-lantern himself at the end. And for this one specifically, I recall playing quite a bit back when it first came out. This special episode, nay, the whole series in general, was such a surreal trip into pure chaos. I find it hard to describe what this show is, and I think that's why I love it. In the same era, we had shows like Ed, Edd n Eddy that would also bring a similar nature of attitude, just on Cartoon Network alone. They just complemented each other so well in my opinion, and each stood out on their own. But they had this energy about them, this visceral attachment that I couldn't take my attention away from. Plus, we got Fred Burger, and that's all the world ever needed.
But I wasn't finished! finished?
I appreciate you checking out this video and rocking with me for a little bit today. Let me know your thoughts on this Halloween special as well as the show in general. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter for updates on content, live streams, and more. I got a few extra spooky related videos for the end of the month coming out, but until then, later.
You are now watching The Queen Chama.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So hey guys, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chama Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we are going to be talking about the show, The Proud Family. As you guys know, it has been announced that The Proud Family is coming back with a new show, a new reboot of the original show, and many people are excited. And I really love the show, The Proud Family, growing up. I feel like it's a really iconic show, and it's definitely a staple in Black history. And I feel like the show definitely touched on many different things and influenced me as a young viewer when I watched it. Now, with the show coming back out, a lot of us are realizing that there are aspects within the show that have segmented different stereotypical components of being a Black person. And a lot of people are calling out the colorism, the stereotypes, and many more within the show. And because we're in a different social climate now versus when the show first came out, making these revelations about the show was actually pretty easy because we're a lot more informed as a people, and we can apply this to the actual show that was made back then. So The Proud Family first aired on September 15, 2001 and came to conclusion in 2005. And I just remember watching every episode of the show, even though I was really young, but I love the show and I have it on Disney Plus. And it's pretty much about 14-year-old Penny Proud, and she is growing up. She's trying to gain her independence and faces typical teenager experiences in junior high. With the help of her parents, Trudy and Oscar, and her grandmother, Sugar Mama, Penny faces all sorts of comical events. The Proud Family is a rare gem because it has a Black girl as the protagonist. It's so hard to find shows with Black characters as the protagonists instead of side characters. For the most part, The Proud Family is rated pretty well by anybody who's ever watched it. It's entertaining, it's original, and it definitely shows more light on the Black experience versus any of the other cartoons that were out during that era. And I was really excited for it to be rebooted because I feel like a lot of the kids today kind of are deprived of good comics to watch, good characters to follow. And I feel like this show will definitely come back and positively influence a lot of our young Black youth. Now, I wanted to go over some of the things that I saw on the internet about what people thought of The Proud Family. So someone said, The Proud Family is a rare gem because it has a Black girl as the protagonist. It's hard to find shows with Black characters as the protagonist instead of a side character. And it shows a modern Black family with a mom and a dad. A lot of shows have the father missing and just further plays on the negative stereotypes that Black men are terrible fathers. Penny is a 14-year-old girl that struggles to get through junior high and faces many challenges like bullying, sexism, equality, working a part-time job, and learning right from wrong. What makes The Proud Family so enticing is seeing a modern Black family being loving and supportive towards each other. Penny's parents are very supportive and help her get through her problems. This series also celebrates Black history and Black excellence by showing Black characters working together and combating serious issues, as well as celebrating traditions and cultural experiences through diverse characters. There are positive messages and role models in this series. Now, on the second half of that, someone did say there are some stereotypes in the show and sexist remarks that are made by male characters at times, like Oscar, Penny's father, making comments about his wife nagging him and saying comments about women that are outdated and just rude. Gender roles like women cooking and cleaning while the men sit on their butts and watch TV are present, but the women do put their foot down when necessary and call out men and their problematic behavior, like when they lie to get away from their parental duties. Innuendos are also present and suggestive language is bleeped out or whispered incoherently. Although this series is a breath of fresh air when it comes to representation, Penny is the star of the series, and this series centers around a Black family instead of the typical white family. Now, those reviews were just reviews that I found online. I thought they were pretty relevant. It showed the positives of the show, but it also did touch on, like you said, the innuendos and the stereotypes and some of the things that occur in the show that definitely do need to be discussed. So I've broken this video down into 3 main talking points, so let's get right into this video. Now, point number 1 is the realism of this show. The reason why we're making this video is because many people feel as though there is a lot of colorism going on, specifically with the character of Dejanay. Now, I don't know about y'all, but Dejanay was actually my favorite character. Not that we're even that much alike, but I kind of felt like, although yes, she does emulate many of the stereotypes that are set for Black women. I do like her loudness. I like her proudness. I like her confidence. She's very bold. And I feel like Dejanay was multifaceted despite her actual stereotypes of being the ghetto Black girl. She was good at poetry. She was good at cheerleading. She was athletic. And I feel like that was the part that I liked about her, because she actually was, if you ask me, the most multifaceted character within the series. But if you actually look at Dejanay, the dark skin, the blonde hair, stomach hanging out, her being overweight, those are things that are stereotypical. Those are things that are considered colorist, because the other female characters in the show do not get that same push or that same force into their stereotypes. When you look at Penny, you see a, I guess, brown or light-skinned girl. Her hair is nicely done with pigtails to the side. She's dressed tastefully. She's dressed classy. And she looks like the average 14-year-old girl. Even when you see La Cienega, she has that spicy Latina stereotype where, yeah, she can be loud and she can be mean. She could be a bully, but because she has that spicy Latina look, she can get away with that, which is definitely stereotypical. And then you come to Dejanay and you get the same type of stereotype in that as well. Now, I want to say this. I have experienced Dejanays in my life. You know, in comparison to other characters in the show, I have seen a lot of Dejanays, okay? I feel like Dejanay's character is an authentic and realistic exemplification of many Black women within the Black community everywhere. But I also do feel like you have to be careful when you're making characters like this, just because we are in a social climate that will call people out for stereotypes as well as colorism. Also, the Gross sisters are also back in this show. And as you guys know, the Gross sisters are three sisters. One is big and fat, one is tall and skinny, one is short and stubby. And their character is painted blue. And for the most part, people never knew why they were blue. I thought growing up it was just to show a different side of the main characters who are more colorful, they're nicer, they're the ones that get along with each other versus the mean Gross sisters. But come to find out, the reason why they were blue is because they were ashy. Now, I kind of feel like that is kind of comical in a way. I don't think that really plays on any specific stereotype to being ashy. I mean, Black people do get ashy. I get ashy sometimes. But I feel like all of these different things do work cohesively. Yes, it is stereotypical to have Dejanay acting the way that she acts, but I feel like that actually was the point of the show. I kind of feel like the show was there to showcase different types of Black individuals, a Black family, and it also had positive stereotypes and negative stereotypes. Like one of the users said, most Black shows, whether it's an actual sitcom or a cartoon, will show that the father is not there, not a two-parent household, Black fathers are terrible, Black fathers don't work hard. But in this show, you did see Oscar Proud. Despite his Proud snacks being nasty and never being successful, you did see Oscar Proud working very hard, trying to upkeep his family and trying to at least do something. He was really passionate about his business, you feel me? And that was something that was commendable to the extent where at least he's here versus not being there at all. You did see Dejanay with the stereotypical, I have a ghetto family. If you remember, Dejanay's mom and dad had so many kids. Dejanay had like all these different siblings. They all had names that were like spices. You had Dejanay, you had Paprika, you had all these different names. And that was pretty comical to have the names be that. But at the same time, that is stereotypical. That does occur in the regular Black community. It does. Then you had La Cienega, you know, the rich Spanish girl, the spicy Spanish girl who was the bully, which does often happen in Black society and Black communities everywhere. And you had Zoe, who was the awkward white girl. And I feel like the reason why she was there is because the many Black friend groups across the entire nation and Black communities, there's always that one white person that's there and she hangs with the Black people or he hangs with the Black people, but he's just always a little bit awkward and off. But the Black kids still accept them just because they're cool and they're young and they like this person. Now, moving on to point number 2 is the colorism. Now, is this colorist? The easy answer is obviously yes. This is an example of colorism. This is an example of portraying the dark-skinned character in a bad light. This is an example of the dark-skinned girl having to be the one with the most heinous and the most grotesque characteristics attached to her character. And I feel like we have to be very careful, like I said, with portraying this. Although this was an authentic representation of something that does occur rapidly and constantly with Black communities all over America and probably overseas as well. There are Dejanays, yes. There are people that act like her, and there are people that act like her who are great people. But it is colorist to show that that dark-skinned character has to be like that, because if we're being real, at the end of the day, yes, there are people that act like Dejanay, and those people do deserve recognition. However, all of the darker-skinned female characters on the show are portrayed as either ghetto or extremely aggressive, which is really a common stereotype of dark-skinned women. I feel like this show was very nostalgic and we did enjoy it. However, I feel that way because it was really one of the few Black cartoons that we had at the time. And if all of the dark-skinned female characters are portrayed stereotypically and aggressively, literally what message does that send to Black children who are consuming this and watching it? And because the new reboot has not dropped yet, we don't know how they're going to play up these characters, but I feel like they're going to maintain exactly how the show was prior to 20 plus years ago, because that is the point here. That's what they want to do. They want to make sure that we still have that nostalgic aspect from watching the show as young people versus now. And I feel like they should, but I also feel like they should balance it out with some of their content and making sure that they address things like colorism and they address things like that. And I feel like they actually will. If you guys didn't know, they're going to bring on Keke Palmer to the show. She has her own character in which she's an activist. And the activist character actually kind of looks like Keke Palmer in terms of skin color and the way how Keke Palmer likes to portray herself. And some people were talking about, why is this activist and this black woman, this black character, have to be the angry, aggressive one? But I feel like we don't know yet. I feel like it might work out pretty well, because I feel like if the activist character is going to be really good and actually show that, hey, these black women can be strong and passionate about certain topics and cover things that we do need to discuss, especially in today's climate, who's to say it might not be a positive addition to the show? We just don't know yet. It hasn't come out. I have hope for the Proud Family because I feel like the Proud Family is doing more good than it is bad. But I do feel like, yes, they do play into a lot of colorism and a lot of stereotypes that have been occurring for years and years and years. But I do also feel like that was the point of the show. Now, I wanted to state that I got this idea from a subscriber tagging me on a Twitter post. And this Twitter post was written by Ella. And she said, look at how Disney Plus portrays Dejanay in comparison to the other lighter skinned characters. Dejanay looks like a caricature of an argumentative, fat, dark-skinned black woman. And at this point, it's intentionally and continually portrayed dark-skinned black female characters like this. Someone then came back and said, this is a reach. Our community has a huge colorist problem, and the Proud Family has always been a show that has had tough conversations with a palatable delivery to find ways to make light of the struggle. Now, this girl then came back and said, of course there's a Jamaican flag because it's always idiots like Unuwek Shat Shit. The portrayals of dark-skinned black girls are caricatures, and racism, colorism has always been a huge problem with this cartoon from 2001. Which tough conversation has this show ever had? Someone then responded back to her and said, LMFAO, you just used a racial stereotype to dismiss someone's opinion about your claim of a show being bad for using racial stereotypes. Now, I kind of feel like, yes, I understand where Written by Ella is coming from, but I really just don't like her delivery and some of the things that she's saying, because at the end of the day, like that user said, you can't use racial stereotypes to dismiss someone else's opinions. But what Ella is saying is that the show has continuously portrayed dark-skinned black girls as caricatures through racism and colorism. And I agree. I definitely think they have done that. And I just hope that they are able to tackle that and understand that we don't hate Dejanays. We understand Dejanays exist in everywhereville America and everywhereville everywhere else. There are Dejanays everywhere. And I feel like it's important to put that character out there. But I want to see some change in the character. Although these girls are a bit grown up, maybe Dejanay has changed just a little bit. I don't know. But we'll see when it comes out. Now, my third and final point is, what solution do we make? You know, I kind of feel like at this point, I'm to the point where, yes, I like to complain about things and voice my opinion and make my commentary, but I also want to make sure that we have solutions. There was a girl on Twitter who was replying back to all of the backlash that Dejanay was getting, and she said, I see what you're saying, but you also have to remember, in the black community, we do have women like Dejanay. Don't get me wrong, they most definitely could have pulled her shirt down and not have her stomach out like that. I honestly love Dejanay, but I don't want the writers to stereotype her too much. My favorite thing about her is how she can be loud, but show a different side when she does her poetry. I do want the writers to give her a soft side, other than just her taking care of her siblings. I also want the Gross Sisters to be shown in a better light, because there is an activist character, and hopefully she can bring up the conversation about Dejanay and the Gross Sisters. I know it's hoping for a lot from people who like to write stereotypes, but can they change though? We shall see. And I feel like that's a great way to propose a solution. A lot of us can complain and do those types of things, and yeah, certain things do deserve some backlash and do deserve commentary and conversation if they're very important. And this conversation is important because this is a very influential and impressionable show that a lot of us watched growing up, and a lot of our younger siblings and younger youth and our kids are going to be watching this reboot because it is such a great show. But the solution for me is, again, like she said, making sure that these characters are versatile and tackling some of those hard conversations, especially because now that we're in a social climate where it's acceptable to talk about colorism and stereotypes and all the things that women face and those types of things, I feel like this will be a great show and platform to do so. I also want to propose the solution that we need more black cartoons. Why is it that when I turn on my TV, and I barely watch cartoons because, I mean, I'm grown at this point and I don't have any kids or any younger siblings, but there are not that many cartoons out here that are showcasing black families or black characters, anything just for black girls and black boys to look up to. And I feel like there's a lot of animators who are super talented that are not just working for Disney and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and things like that. I feel like there's a lot of black creatives that definitely should get into animation and try to syndicate their designs and their drawings and their characters through actually putting out shows and stuff, because we really do need to see it. I would love to turn on Netflix and watch a black cartoon show. And when I do have children, I would love for them to turn on Disney Channel and see more black characters for them to look up to. There are so many black people that are creative, and there's so many black characters with stories to tell, whether it's actual nonfiction or fictional characters that can come out and influence these kids and influence people who just love cartoons cartoons so much more than what we've gotten over the past 20-something years. I feel like the Proud Family reboot will actually be a good thing. I don't agree with the girl written by Ella by saying cancel the show. I don't think the show should be canceled, but I definitely think that they should really evaluate how they're about to portray these characters. We're in a different social climate now that we're in the 2020s and moving up, and I feel like now is the time for us to really tackle some of these conversations that a lot of us commentators have been having on YouTube and actually put them in to these cartoons that can affect kids, because kids are really impressionable. We can't sit here and just say, oh, well, all they do is listen to all these different rappers and all these different negative influences, and then when we have shows that can actually help them, we want to cancel them. No, let's just change the conversation. Honestly, y'all, Proud Family, I would love to be a voice actor on y'all show. I'm very crazy and I could definitely get into character. If y'all want to hire me, y'all can hire me as a character on there. I don't even have to be there all the time. I could just come in every so often, and I would love to be on that show. I really would. I love the Proud Family. I think it's a great show, and I just hope that they understand that there has to be a solution to some of the stereotypes that have been portrayed through their show all this time. So all in all, I feel like the Proud Family does have the potential to be really influential with this new reboot. I don't think the show should be canceled, like I said. I definitely do think they have been portraying colorism and stereotypes through their characters, and although these characters do exist in real life, and I do feel like they can authentically portray these people, there has to be a good balance so that it doesn't end up influencing people the incorrect way. What I really did not like was the creator, Bruce W. Smith, and his response to how people were giving a lot of backlash. I feel like he either should have said nothing at all, or he could have just said, stay tuned, we have a lot of ways that we're going to actually combat some of the things that you're talking about. I can't wait for y'all to see this show. He got to understand that you can't just be petty just because the Proud Family is successful. You got to really sit here and make people want to watch this, because he turned off a lot of people who were either really excited or were already on the fence and skeptical about the show by his response on Twitter. I don't think it was appropriate, and I don't think it was professional, but I really hope that all of the writers, the producers, the creators, and everybody that's working hard on this reboot can honestly understand that people just want to see Black characters be portrayed correctly and accurately and also fairly, and that's all I'm hoping for with this Proud Family reboot, and I'm actually excited to watch the show. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment on my commentary down below. Also, do not forget to follow me on all of my social media networks. Go tell the Proud Family I want to be on their show, okay? And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.
Ballin', they phony, I'm not calling, I'm super